Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Empowered podcast. Tune in to a brand new episode of this series to get a fresh perspective on leadership, growth, and excellence from some of the brilliant minds of inspiring Mphasians. To speak with us today, we have Praveen Goggi. Hi, Praveen. Please do tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Rajshri. Hello, everyone. My name is Praveen Goggi. I head the global delivery for strategic insurance accounts at Mphasis. Thanks for inviting me to this podcast today.
Great to have you here, Praveen. So, in previous episodes, you may know we've covered various Mphasian principles and looked at how they fit into the Employee Value Proposition initiative. So, while keeping that context in mind, could you please elaborate for us on how the principle disagree but commit fits into this picture?
Sure. Let me paint you a picture. As a result of the disruption in the past few years, many companies were looking to build or revamp their digital capabilities to support remote and hybrid working models. This scenario meant we had to deliver significant technological innovations while our teams worked remotely. Now, it made collaboration challenging, and we had to ensure that we had the right touch points with the employees too. So, this is where our core values of high trust, high tech, and high touch came into picture. Despite working from various locations globally, we ensured that we always are innovative, empathetic, personal, and inclusive. We communicate with integrity and deliver what we promise. In a big and diverse team working together, there are bound to be different perspectives. Of course, we encourage and welcome to have their opinions, voice their opinions while deciding on how a particular project should be handled. But after a decision is made, even if we disagree with the decision, we must commit ourselves to the project. At the end of the day, as a team, we must decide and do what's best for Mphasis and its clients.
Right. That's a very interesting scenario you described there. And you've given us, like a large macro perspective, which is great. But I'd like to narrow it down a little bit and ask, so, as you know, Mphasis has another principle, which is called work for each other. So how does this principle complement the other one, the disagree but commit principle?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the principle work for each other implies that we work collaboratively, that we share our knowledge and skills and collectively advance Mphasis growth. However, when a team of skilled experts come together for a project, it makes equation little complex as there are bound to be clashes of opinions. A team, for example, consists of technical expert, functional expert, sales expert, testing expert, and so on. So while it's great to have multiple experts or the subject matter experts on a given project, but we must deliver to the project together as one. So the best way to go forward is to put forth diverse inputs, think together, disagree if we feel the need to at that point, and eventually come to a consensus, after which we must commit to the plan. I believe this entire process is necessary because if we do not iron out our differences at the beginning, we will probably commit to the project half-heartedly, or we might commit at a later stage. Maybe it's like too little too late. So basically, a complicated situation like this is undesirable and hinders the progress of efficiency of the project. That's why we must conduct a good brainstorming session wherein all the ideas are laid out and we walk through all the pros and cons of each idea and finally decide and commit to one action plan as a team. At this point, after we start working comfortably with each other, and then this is how I think the two principles complement each other.
Okay, right, got that. So this brings me to my next question, which is we've discussed in some detail about how things work in theory, but are there any examples of how this principle works in practice?
Yes, of course. So very recently, we had a large request for proposal for one of our large insurance customers. We had people from different divisions assisting us to develop this proposal. When we started, we all had different ideas how a project should work, how a software should be modeled. For instance, The sales team voiced that we should opt for more automation than what is in practice so far. However, the delivery team felt it has inherent risks. We also had to consider customer requirements to develop the solution at the lowest or probably optimum cost. So at this point, we were trying to find the perfect way to balance four components of the project: the delivery capability, the project cost, choosing the right personnel, and planning the right testing and automation framework. Finally, after brainstorming, the team and few of us on the decision making table concluded that we should automate better than the industry standards. The tech leads from my team combed through different automation projects with an emphasis and brought evidence that we could probably commit more than 20%, and we went with 40 to 45% automation. It helped us build and present a rock solid optimal cost proposal to the client, which landed us the project, right? So it's a clear example on how four different groups disagreed with each other and had varied viewpoints, but committed to a final plan.
Right. This is very interesting, the way you describe how all of this came together. This brings me to the last question we have for you, which is, I understand how the principle helps out Mphasis and Mphasians, but how does the disagree but commit approach help your end clients?
Right. Let me share another example to explain this. So a few hours back, we have been implementing an insurance product for one of our clients. The front end entry screen we have been implementing for them was standard and traditional. And we recently acquired a company called Blink, which works on evidence-based front-end UX solutions. If the insurance company inculcated Blink into their digital infrastructure, it could proactively use UX screen as a marketing tool for its end customer. We approached the customer and told them that we should implement the software right away, despite the additional cost. They wanted us to implement Blink at the cost they already paid for the traditional front-end solution. Of course, at this point, we disagreed with the client. We then negotiated the cost and introduced a demo version into their digital environment. The UX solution was a hit, and they would go on to recover their entire costs, I mean the extra costs, and make a profit within few months of using it. So this is success story wherein we partnered with our end clients, and despite our disagreement on the cost, we convinced them that it was beneficial and favorable for them to move on from there.
Right. This does sound like a real success story. Well, this brings us to the end of our podcast. Thank you so much, Praveen, for letting us know why it's important for employees to voice their opinions before committing to a project. And thank you so much for being a part of the Empowered podcast series.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure to be here.
We will be back with another episode of the Empowered podcast to take a look at a different EVP principle very soon. So stay tuned.